Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum to all. By the grace of God Almighty, we are again interacting with each other. Dear students of 12th class political science, hope that you will be at home, you will be safe, and you will be busy in your studies. Today, our topic is Contemporary South Asia. This is chapter number 5 of our syllabus. And as per the syllabus, we are supposed to examine and investigate the divergent political characteristics of constituent countries of South Asia and the overall political profile of South Asia. Means we have to focus upon the specific political and social problems of the countries of South Asia, and we have to look at South Asia as a whole. So far as the perspective or the context of this topic is concerned, dear students, we need to understand that the contemporary world that we live in is a globalized world. It is a global village. But besides this globalization and globalism, there is a strong tendency of regionalism. So we can say that our world is globally regional, or we can also say that it is regionally global. You know, different regions of the world with different geopolitical characteristics form regional organizations and associations to safeguard and promote their greater political and economic interests. European Union, African Union, ASEAN, OPEC, Non-Alignment Movement, because NAM is the representative movement of Afro-Asian and Latin American countries, I mean to say third world. If entire third world is considered to be a region, so NAM is its regional organization, etc. are some prominent examples of well-known regional organizations of today. Dear students, this is a brief introduction of South Asia first. Then we will be inshallah talking about the countries and their problems which we are required by the syllabus. South Asia is a region in the south of Asian continent. It is consisting of India, Bhutan, Maldives, Nepal, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh and Pakistan. I again say there are 7 countries which fall in the region of South Asia. They are India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. It is known as Indian subcontinent. Then there are Bhutan, Maldives, Nepal, Sri Lanka. South Asia covers about 3.5% of world's land surface area, and it has 1/4 of world's population, which is 1.891 million. So we can say that South Asian region is counted one of the highly and densely populated areas of the world. South Asia is counted among significant regions or zones of the world for various reasons. This region has a wonderful geographical location. It is surrounded by 3 great water bodies, that is Indian Ocean, Arabian Sea, and the Bay of Bengal. This region is also the homeland of several mountain ranges, including the great Himalayas. Abundance of rivers, very famous rivers, forests, deserts, glaciers, valleys, grasslands, etc. make it one of the important ecozones of the world. South Asia is also a legendary example of cultural diversity and social pluralism. Hundreds of the languages are spoken here. People harmoniously practice different faiths and religions like Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, Sikhism, Jainism, Zoroastrianism, etc. Even this region, South Asia, has the pride to be the birthplace of four great world religions, that is Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and Sikhism, which renders this region an important center of knowledge and a destination for religious tourism. Moreover, this region has a well-known civilizational background also. Politically, it is pertinent to mention here that South Asia has witnessed the rise and fall of many kingdoms, and lately it has experienced colonial rule and the rise of freedom movements, establishment of constitutional democracies, etc. The details will be discussed later on. However, it is to be noted that South Asia has myriad political problems and issues. Economically, South Asia falls in third world, means underdeveloped category. Although India, which is considered the superpower of South Asia, is economically very strong and is a front-line partner of global trade, but we can say that the overall economic profile of the region is poor. There is poverty, rampant poverty, there is underdevelopment, there is unemployment, etc., etc. But South Asia has tremendous potential of progress if its resources are explored and utilized well. It was in 1980s the leaders of South Asia were inspired by other regional organizations of the world, and they also realized that the unity, cooperation, and collective efforts will bring economic progress, prosperity, and political stability in the region. And it was in this respect, or in this context, SAARC, South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, was formed in 1985. And SAARC is presently the main representative organization of this region. It was a 7-member body, and now it is 8-member body, because Afghanistan was also included into it as a member. The main objectives of SAARC are to promote the welfare of the people of South Asia, to accelerate economic growth, social progress, and cultural development in the region, to promote and strengthen collective self-reliance among these countries, to contribute to mutual trust, understanding, and appreciation of one another's problems, to promote active collaboration and mutual assistance in various fields, to strengthen cooperation among themselves and regional forums, and to cooperate with international and regional organizations. Dear students, this was the brief and a general introduction of South Asia. In the next part of this lecture, we will be discussing the specific topics of the chapter, like reversals of democracy in Pakistan, monarchy and popular movement in Nepal, ethnic conflict in Sri Lanka, effects of globalization on the region, etc. Here I should add that South Asian region is an interesting and insightful area of economic, political, social, and cultural studies. There are branches and separate chairs and research centers in different universities of the world under the title of South Asian Studies. Similarly, various books have been written on South Asia, on South Asian history, South Asian culture, South Asian politics, which clearly indicates that this region deserves special attention of the students. I would like to suggest one book. It is written by Aisha Jalal, a historian and political analyst. The title of the book is Democracy and Authoritarianism in South Asia, a Comparative and Historical Perspective. Democracy and Authoritarianism in South Asia, a Comparative and Historical Perspective. Students interested in South Asian studies will find this book very informative and highly helpful in understanding South Asia. Dear students, this is for today. For any question, please contact me on my WhatsApp number already available to you. Inshallah, we will meet again. Thanks.